I'm about to say something so stunning and brave, you're about to lose your minds. Jamal Murray's underrated. There, I said it here on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for tuning in today's episode here on Wednesday night. A little bit of irregular scheduling. Matt and I usually go live on Wednesday nights. He needed the night off, and so I'm going to take over for him, solo episode. We're going to cover a couple of things. Mostly it's about Jamal Murray, but I wanted to also talk about the elite teams in the Western Conference. I think I'm kind of on the outside when I talk about how many teams are in the elite class in the Western Conference. Everybody likes to keep that group so tight. But I think that there's a lot of great talent out there. And I think the West is about to be an absolute warpath. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. My name's Ryan Blackburn. I am a host here at Locked On Nuggets, also over at Mile High Sports and the Pickaxe and Roll podcast. Make sure to check that out. Going solo tonight, we're going to talk about a variety of things. First, we're going to talk about the elite teams in the West, and then we're going to build up the audience and set the stage for what I think should be a fun conversation about Jamal Murray, who, I think that he has become very underrated, even within the Nuggets fan base that has put an incredible amount of pressure upon his shoulders, rightfully or wrongfully. But first, let's talk about the West. Let's talk about a group that has been only getting better as the East has sustained injuries. Damian Lillard goes down. The Milwaukee Bucks turn into a different team entirely after waiving and stretching his contract. Jason Tatum goes down. Boston tears everything down. They basically try to change up their entire formula, trying to get under the luxury tax if they can, get themselves to be cheaper in a down year without Tatum. Tyrese Halliburton tears his Achilles, in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. They don't retain Miles Turner, underball, like cheap out on his contract offer. They don't have a starting caliber center on their team. And now the East looks pretty bad. It does. You know what doesn't look really bad? The West. The West continues to look really, really strong, namely because of the teams at the top. OKC obviously won the championship. They were the team that Denver lost to. It is funny, over the course of these last, I want to say 6 years, the team that Denver has lost to has usually gone to the NBA Finals. 2020, they lost in the bubble. Lakers win. There was some talk about from Daryl Morey that there's a lot of people that don't think of that as a real championship. Kind of funny. Obviously he would say that, but Denver made it to the West Finals, and they only lost to the Lakers because clearly that Lakers team was fraudulent. But what would that make the Nuggets? Obviously the Lakers were really good. 2021, they lost to the Phoenix Suns. Suns went on to the NBA Finals. 2022, they lose to the Warriors. Warriors win the NBA Finals. 2023, Denver wins the NBA Finals. 2024, they lose to the Wolves, partially because, well, Jamal Murray was hurt. We'll get to him in just a bit. 2025, they lose to the OKC Thunder. Lo and behold, they win the NBA Finals. It's been a pretty rough stretch for Denver when it comes to how many elite teams they run into in the Western Conference, because there are always elite teams. It's not always the case in the Eastern Conference. And I think it's going to be the same case here in 2026, where OKC, they're going to still be an elite team. Denver, I think, has graduated into that firmly elite tier. I did not think that Denver was an elite team this past year because they didn't have the depth, and the starters that they had, whether it was Michael Porter getting injured, Christian Brown still getting ready for stuff, Aaron Gordon ultimately getting injured by the end of it, starters couldn't hold up their end of the bargain for the burden that they had to carry this particular season. But now they have a group of players behind them, an actual bench that I think is going to be very good. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do with it. But I think that Denver's an elite team. I think that they showed with their ability to compete with the OKC Thunder, they did not need a lot in order to become an elite team. And I think that they got what they needed. Who also got what they needed was the Houston Rockets. I think that Houston is an elite team. I think that they were they weren't that close this past year because they needed the most difficult thing. And they got it. They got a number one scorer. It's very difficult to win in the NBA if you do not have somebody that you can trust with the ball in their hands. They can trust Kevin Durant. There are some people that think pretty negatively about Kevin Durant. And I understand why. I get it. But what I think from just from the perspective of what that team needed, they had basically everything else. Alperen Şengün, if he is your second best player, you're doing pretty well. Amin Thompson, he could end up being their best player long term. But for now, he's at his best when he's an elite role player, and that's who he is. Fred VanVleet, going to be the guy who sets the table. Jabari Smith Jr., he's going to grow into his role. Tari Eason, same thing. They've got a lot of depth. They've got a lot of role players. They did not have the star. Now they do with Kevin Durant. He's going to be asked to do what he does best, and they're going to be asked to do what they do best. And so I think that's an actual match made in heaven. Hopefully Ime Udoka, actually not hopefully, I mean, this is the Nuggets. Like, Nuggets fans don't want that to be hopeful. Like, you'd rather me be wrong about this, but I think that's going to be a very, very competitive team. One that's probably going to surprise a lot of people. After that, it starts to get a little bit dicey. Are the LA Clippers an elite team? Are the Minnesota Timberwolves an elite team? Are the LA Lakers an elite team? I don't think they are quite in the same tier. If there is one team that I think is closest to that group, I still think it's the Clippers. Denver, if we're being honest, because like Denver was in the same tier as the Clippers this past year. They each won about 50 games. They were each like 4 seed, 5 seed, 6 seed all the way through. And Denver, I think, got a little bit lucky in terms of being able to get out of that first round series. Obviously, Denver got better. They figured some stuff out. But the Clippers did too. They added a really good backup big man in Brook Lopez, who's, I think, qualified to be a starting big man, but for the LA Clippers, it's going to be a backup. You know who is 10th in the NBA and estimated plus minus this season? Ivica Zubac, who was very good in that Nuggets series. Very good at holding down Jokic to, I think, below average efficiency for Jokic. Still above average efficiency compared to everybody else. I think that obviously Harden and Leonard, that is to each their own. For me, Leonard, I think, is going to rank about the 16th or 17th best player in the NBA. Harden's going to be in that mid to low 20s kind of situation. So is their top talent good enough? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But the most important thing for them is that if their top talent is good enough, they are a championship team. If it is not, then they are not. So for me, they are outside of that tier of elite talent, but they are the closest to knocking on the door. And that's not to say that Minnesota, who has been in the Western Conference Finals each of the last 2 seasons, they deserve at least a nod. It's going to be interesting to see whether they can actually get back to it, whether they can do what it takes to get back to that place now that they don't have Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Mike Conley's a year older. Rudy Gobert's a year older. How are they going to handle the change and the transition of this team? Julius Randle is back. Is he what the team needs? Naz Reid, is he what the team needs? I think it's a fair question. They're going to need some guys to step up like Rob Dillingham, Terrence Shannon, Jalen Clark, some of their young guys that Nuggets fans got to see in that Summer League game against Minnesota. Those guys are pretty good. They're pretty talented. So we'll see if they could actually step up and fill those gaps, but that's a question mark. And then the only other team that I think really has a case here, it's either the Lakers or the Warriors. Lakers, I think, have a case because you can at least make the justification that they've got 2 top 10 players on their team. I think Luka Doncic is the 4th best player in the NBA right now. Had a down year. He will be better. Hey, and everybody see that Men's Health article? Holy cow, that dude looks jacked. Surely it won't be gone by January. As a big guy myself, I understand how that goes. I think that, like, with the LeBron situation being as unsettled as it is, I can't quite put them in an elite tier. They also don't necessarily have the requisite depth and the defense and the connective tissue that you need for a championship contender, but they are at least a stone's throw away if they get the right piece. Unfortunately, the right piece was Dorian Finney-Smith, and he's now gone with the Houston Rockets. So we'll see whether they can fill that in. But right now, I think there are 3.5 teams that are elite in the West. There are other teams that are really good, but the Nuggets, the Thunder, and the Rockets are the only teams that are definitely in there. And then either the Clippers or the T-Wolves are the only other teams I could see qualifying for a conversation like that. When we come back, we're going to talk about Jamal Murray. We're going to talk about the fact that, I'm sorry, guys, he's just underrated at this point. That's the only thing I can say. We'll talk about him next here on Locked On Nuggets. All right. Before we get back to that, let us discuss the advertiser of the sponsor for today's video, Monarch Money. You ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. As somebody who, I needed to get away over the course of these last few weeks, and I was able to help budget for a little kind of vacation up into the mountains. It was nice. We needed to spend some money on the Airbnb, needed to do stuff for travel, wanted to plan some activities. With Monarch Money, I was able to do that without a sweat. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. Back at it, Locked On Nuggets. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. All right, let's get into this conversation. One of the things is, it's funny that the comments have already kind of taken this in various different directions. Him pipes up and says, saw Jason Timpf rank Jamal as the 25th best player in the NBA. When I saw that, I was like, that's pretty high. That's a pretty aggressive ranking. Rob Sheldon in the comments says, Jamal underrated, hilarious. By what metric? There's a lot of Nuggets fans that have these very visceral feelings about Jamal Murray and being underrated. He averaged, it's funny. This is the funny thing. Think back to the playoffs and think back to the teams that he faced. People are going to call this an excuse. Face the Clippers, who have Chris Dunn and Ivica Zubac, two of the best when it comes to defending pick and roll in the entire NBA, defending two-man game, a guard and a big. Also Nicholas Batum, Kawhi Leonard. Those guys really connected the defense for a team like the Clippers. And then you had to face the OKC Thunder. Holy cow, I cannot think of a tougher team to face for a guard than the Oklahoma City Thunder. They have so many guys that they can throw at you. I want you guys to take a guess. How many players do you think averaged more points in the playoffs than Jamal Murray? I'll give you a little bit of time. The number is going to surprise you. You think about it. Okay. He's about what? The 38th best player in the NBA. That's about where I would rank him personally in terms of kind of on that top 100. How many players do you think averaged more points per game than Jamal Murray in the playoffs this past year? The answer is 15. And they are all all-stars. Every single one of them. Every single one. You have Giannis, you have Luka, you have Shea, you have Donovan Mitchell, you have Jalen Brunson, you have Paolo Banchero, you have Jason Tatum, Nikola Jokic, Franz Wagner. Franz and Paolo, I don't know if they made the all-star team or not, but they're all-star caliber. Young guys, they're going to make it a lot. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Cade Cunningham, Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry, Jaylen Brown, and Jamal Murray. there's a lot of other guys that Jamal outpaced in points per game. Julius Randle, Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Williams, who everybody wants to crown as the best second option in the NBA now that the OKC Thunder won. Alperen Şengün, Pascal Siakam, Jimmy Butler, Derek White, everybody's favorite elite role player, Derek White. Fred VanVleet, James Harden, Ja Morant, Darius Garland, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Tyrese Halliburton, Evan Mobley. I can go on and on and on and on. Folks, you're being too hard on him. You just are. You just are. I'm here to tell you that the amount of burden that Jamal Murray and the Nuggets starters specifically, had to carry over the course of these past couple of seasons is insane. It's just an insane thing. And it's unfortunate that Nuggets fans are not able to internalize that. The roster was so bad. I mean, so bad that, gosh, the comments are insane. It's been very interesting to see the reaction. And I'm swayed by it too. Don't you worry. Like I was reactive just as you were. I was like, Jamal Murray has to be better. Jamal Murray wasn't great. You know who actually helped me kind of even out my mentality during the playoffs? Matt Moore, who was like, he was like, I think Jamal had a pretty good playoffs. And I look back at it and I think, you know what? With a little bit of time, he's right. He just is. It's just very important, I think, for people to understand and appreciate, like, he's not a perfect player. He's just not. Nobody is. You know who also failed in the playoffs? Nikola Jokic. Nobody wants to blame him. They want to blame Jamal Murray. They would rather blame other people. And I understand that because Nikola Jokic's legacy is tied to winning championships, and anything that is possibly preventing you from winning a championship is going to tarnish his legacy. And I understand that. Jamal Murray wasn't the problem. He just wasn't in these playoffs. That is not what's happening. The reason why Denver lost in the playoffs was because they ran out of good players. It's because Michael Porter had to play through a shoulder injury that he could not play through. Like he was bad. He was just straight up bad in the playoffs. People want to compare Michael Porter and Jamal Murray in these playoffs. Jamal averaged 22 points a game or pretty close to it. And Michael Porter averaged like 9 points per game in the entire playoffs. Like they're just different. It's just a different situation. This guy's been very aggressive in the comments. You blamed Jokic for game 7. Murray had 13 points on 6 of 16. Of course, he was bad. He was straight up bad in game 7. Not going to I've blamed Jokic and I will blame Murray. They both share equal blame in this case, but you guys want to blame Murray more. And that's the problem. It's because it's a team sport. Everybody loses equally. It's just obviously people online are going to be too hard on Jokic because he is the best player in the world. He has the highest expectations of anybody. He fell short of those expectations. He did. But he wasn't the entire reason why Denver failed. Obviously. Murray wasn't either. You think back to I saw people criticizing Murray's defense. Yeah, he's not a great defender. He's not the worst. You could be dealing with Trae Young, Tyler Hero, Austin Reeves. You know who got cooked all playoffs was Austin Reeves. You know who's not it's funny. The Lakers both want to blame Austin Reeves and Lakers fans want to blame him for being horrible defensively in that series against Anthony Edwards, but they also want to trade him for Jaylen Brown and think that he is a deservable piece for that. It's horrible. It's this is just a very frustrating place for everybody to be. All I am saying, so I'm spoiling things. The Locked On is going to do a top 100. We're going to have some releases over the course of the next next month or so, I think. I'm going to rank Jamal Murray as the 38th best player in the NBA. He's not paid like that. He's paid more. He's of course paid more. The expectations should be high. I continue to maintain that. The expectations should be bet that Murray is better than the 38th best player in the world. He has to be better than that. It's a requirement, especially after Denver traded Michael Porter. They've changed up so many things. What they really need to do is like they need Murray to be in the top 30. They need him to be that second option that is trusted and vaunted and a killer. When I went back and looked at the numbers, like he's averaging the same efficiency as Anthony Edwards and Jaylen Brown and Jimmy Butler. It really is true. Like same efficiency, but it's not treated like that for whatever reason. And yet he averaged the 16th most points per game in the entire playoffs. Make it make sense. Look, everybody has the highest expectations, and they should. Like, I am not trying to dissuade you from that. The anger, the outright anger and frustration is misplaced. Allow him to be better. Let him become better, and let him show over the course of multiple years that he was that 2024 in the playoffs where he was not good enough. He just straight up wasn't. That is the outlier. And he is still a playoff killer. He's still somebody that you can trust in that. Next segment, we're going to talk about one thing you want to see from Murray this next season. I've got a couple of things, but I want you to comment in the comments as well. What do you want to see from Jamal Murray this next season? We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. All right, we're back. Locked On Nuggets. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. This guy he says, let me ask you, Ryan, who's better, Donovan Mitchell or Murray? Murray gets paid more than him. Bro, you do not know how contracts work. The next time Donovan Mitchell is up for a max extension, he's going to be paid more than Murray. Murray is worse. I have Donovan Mitchell as I have him actually aggressively high on my latest intonation of the top 100. He's a great player. He is great. Murray's probably overpaid. I'm not going to criticize. I mean, you can criticize that all you want to, but the Nuggets have given him that contract and they have to work with it. It's just the degree to where you've gone is too high. Alexander Brown says, bro, I think if Jaylen Brown and Jamal Murray were on the same team, I swear Murray would be number one option. Murray would be at least a dozen teams number one if you swap their number two. I think that there's some argument to that. And the way that he would get free in the pick and roll. Here's the thing. Denver's entire offense is designed around Jokic. He is the heliocentric option there. He doesn't touch the ball a lot. He tries to optimize things as best as he can for everybody involved. You know where he often goes back to because he needs to? Jamal Murray. Oftentimes it is Jamal that frees up Joker. It is not the other way around all the time. People want to tell you that it is. That is not always the case. Jamal does a lot for freeing him up. Grace says in things that she wants to see Murray do better, take more threes challenge. Possible. I firmly agree. It is ridiculous that he hasn't taken more threes. We are in the modern NBA. Murray is a 40% three-point shooter. Take more, please, for the love of God. I totally get it. I totally agree. He has to take more. It's just, I keep trying to implore on every platform that I can, that the way for Murray to average more points and for people to stop being pissy about him is he would just average 3 more points per game if he averaged 3 more threes per game and change his twos to threes. It would just naturally happen because teams would be super aggressive on him. He would get to the free throw line more. He did a better job this year in getting to the free throw line than he did in the previous season, partially due to injury. But he's got to be more crafty. He has always been crafty. Using that three-pointer to get to the free throw line is the best possible way to be the most efficient player that he can. CMB is garbage says passing improvement with entry passes and taking more threes. I got to be honest, man. Murray's entry passes are freaking fine. They are just fine. He has grown out of that as a problem. It is not a problem anymore. People don't blame enough the post player for not holding their ground and not providing a good angle, not providing the right leverage for said pass. There are a lot of times where Murray is entry passing or somebody is entry passing where Jokic just gets beaten to the spot where he's trying to indicate where the pass should go. He gets beaten because the defender wraps behind him, and then deflects the ball and steals it. That's not always what happens, Sometimes the pass is on Murray. He has improved so much as a passer. I think that is dead. The reason why he averaged fewer assists this year was because he was not on the ball as often. He was Russell Westbrook, who's on the ball more often than you think. R&M Short says, I want some of playoff Murray in the regular season. 100%. I think it's a fair criticism to have. He saves a lot of what he can do in the playoffs. He doesn't want to overextend. He's often pretty lazy at the beginning of the season. These are all fair criticisms. I think that it should be his goal to be an all-star. I think that the only way that you can do that is to try to hit the ground running. It's to approach September and October as the months where you get ready, as opposed to January and February. Like that's real, or as opposed to November and December, because it is a little bit overstated, like how long he actually struggles. Usually it's after the first 20 games. Like Murray takes the first 20 games to get himself ready, and then he's good for the rest of the time. He builds and builds and builds and is pretty good after that. Would I like him to hit the ground running from game one? Of course. Who wouldn't? Like it would be insane. Yannick says, Kyrie has the perfect contract. Mitchell and Lillard are also overpaid. Everybody can't be overpaid. Like the fact that, so here's the problem. The second apron is telling you that people are overpaid now. It didn't used to be that way. Like if you went into the second apron, so be it. Now there's actually like penalties for this. So yeah, if you're like doing this over again, you probably pay Murray a little bit less. You don't pay him a full max contract. But it's over. Like you can't change it now. So rather than talking about the contract, I think it's just important for people to talk about the player rather than the contract. This is the same thing for Michael Porter. You don't bring up the contract over and over and over again. I tried to avoid it. Sometimes it's unavoidable because it's part of the thing. But Denver's balanced their books well enough that it's okay for them to have two max contract guys on their roster. Would it be nice if Murray made an all-star game and carried some of the load of the regular season? Of course. I'm rooting for that too. Hurricane says Ryan overrates Donovan Mitchell. It's crazy. Like top 10 in a lot of metrics, top 10 in just about everything that you would want your star to be top 10 in. He took a lot of burden on in the playoffs. He was a great scorer. He got hurt towards the end of it. The efficiency did not look very good as a result, but the rest of that team got hurt. He did his best, and he faced off against a team that went to the NBA Finals. It's pretty tough sometimes like that. He does have to be better, but I think he is better than a lot of people give him credit for. He has evolved in ways that I wish Murray would evolve, of course. All right. Sweet Science says, I want to see him in better shape and work on his passing a little more. Sure. If that's that's fine. It's perfectly reasonable. I think that he will be in better shape. I think that this is a year where, and part of this is just the overwhelming nature of, he played for Team Canada the previous season. He went into the playoffs the last year, was hurt, never really got healthy. Took him a little bit longer. Not going to make all the excuses in the world, but like, there aren't that many excuses this time around. He has to show up and be the best version of himself. This is the year. Age 28 season. This should probably be the peak. Like right now, age 29, age 30, like these next 3 years should probably be the peak of who he is, and then he's going to start to get worse. So I think it's fair to have some expectations for that. We'll see whether he does or not, but it'll be interesting to see. Grace says if Jamal takes 7 threes a game, Denver is winning 65 games. I think that they can win 60. I do. I think that they're really well set up to do that. It's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, we'll see whether they can, but Mike Weisberg is in here complaining about the Boston Celtics players being better than Jamal. I mean, Tatum is light years ahead of Jamal. Not sure if Brown is. Brown and him certainly before. Like the thing is that Brown this past year was not actually that great. Like he just took a lot of shots. I think that Brown and Murray are still in the same tier overall as players. I do. I think I have Brown higher than him, to be clear. But I think that they are not so far off, especially when it comes to like playoff performance and whatnot. Like you know what you're getting from Jamal Murray in the playoffs when he's healthy. Like, you just do. He's going to be very good. He has been very good. Manny says, imagine how bad that team would be if Jamal was the team's number one option. Yeah, well, I have him as the 38th best player in the NBA. There are probably a whole bunch of better first options. You guys think I'm wiling out for some reason. Everybody has the hate in their heart right now for him, and I think it's just gone a step far. I really do. If you try to make him the first option on a team, you're probably not going to be a very good team. But he's the second option. At times, he might be the third option. But I do think that in general, the Nuggets are going to be really, really good. The first reason why they're good is Jokic. The second reason why they're good is Jamal Murray. It just is. It's Aaron Gordon was brought in to complete the picture. Michael Porter eventually was brought in to be a talented piece, but he had to buy into being a role player. It was Jamal. He was the second best player on the team and debatably was a top 10 player in that 2023 run. Is that so far away for people that they don't believe that it can happen again? I don't know. Do I think it will happen to that degree? Maybe that was his peak, but is it that crazy to think that he could be really good in the playoffs? I don't think so. Gosh, man. You guys don't even really fully appreciate it. Everybody thinks that I go to bat for Jamal extensively. Over the course of this past year, did you really see me coming to Jamal's defense too much? This wasn't a thing where he had to have defenders for him. He was going to do what he was going to do, and he didn't do well enough. One of the reasons why Denver didn't get as far as they needed to, but certainly not the only reason. There's a lot of reasons why Denver failed. I just think that people have put a lot, now that all of the other kind of scapegoats are gone, nobody's ever going to want to blame Jokic, nor should they really. He's a top 15 player of all time. He'll probably go down as top 8. Nobody wants it to be his fault, though. They want somebody to blame. And I just think that it's an unhealthy way to think about this thing, man. Everybody wanted to blame Malone as the reason why things were not working. Everybody wanted to blame Booth as the reason why things were not working. To a degree, those were the reasons. It's true. But I also think that there is so much more that Denver, there's so much more to this. It's so much more nuanced than people seem to, they always want to boil it down into one sentence reasons as to why the team failed. It's always more it's more complicated, always. And I think it's important for people to approach it from that perspective. Scapegoats are not a healthy way for a team to stay together. So hopefully everybody comes together for the Nuggets this time around, and we can talk about Jamal as a reason why Denver won a championship in 2026. Wouldn't that be a great story? Also, you think everybody wouldn't celebrate Jamal being an all-star in this upcoming year? You know who'd be really happy for him? Nikola Jokic. Okay, that is going to do it. Solo show today. I know that everybody's got their feelings. Let me know down in the comments, how wrong do you think I am? Do you think I'm just a shill, a corporate shill for the Denver Nuggets? Always have been, always will. Thanks for listening. Always appreciate it. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out of this episode of Locked On Nuggets.